Mesharala, before we go into this lesson, we give all honor, all glory, and all praises be to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakodash. We give double honor to the apostles and prophets and elders of James Camp, the Tonas Great Millstone, for the before the 100% truth that I've been greatly edified under. However, we are heralds. I am Kazak from Heralds of Yahushai, coming to you this lesson. What we are dealing with is the purpose of polygyny. And as we continue to ensure that the truth be brought out, I decided to get this part done again because yesterday I really was very tired while trying to bring forth some lessons out. Right? It was the start of the series, the purpose of polygyny. However, the part 2 didn't really come out as planned. So this will be a continuation from the part 2. The aim is to do 7 lessons pertaining to polygyny and sex and the purpose of course polygyny during with multiplying, to be exact, right? But the topic, the title of the lesson is the purpose of polygyny part 3. Simple, alright? So let's get straight to what we went into yesterday, because remember we'll go into this first. We had read what many Christians like to go into to try to make the claim that Paul is referring to having only one wife. When you look at the framework, it doesn't say that. It says, now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. So if you are claiming that he says that we should not have one wife, you can also claim that he says we should not have a wife, which the scriptures does not add or push if you really look at it. But due to the purpose of this ministry, for having more time to serve Yahweh Shemar and sincerity and in truth, is why he said that. And if you look at what he says after, let's jump straight down to it. Verses 6, so it says, but I speak this by permission and not of commandment, because commandment allows polygyny if necessary or by choice. And we know you know that, so let's get right into it, right? When it says, let's go back into it. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. And what this is going to is what? Fornication. Now, fornication does not refer to sex before marriage, like Christians like to add into the law. Remember that? You like to add to the law. That's not what it's going into. Fornication is sexual immoralities. And one of the sexual immoralities has been displayed. If you go 2 chapters before, identify what is taking place in the time of Corinth, which is why Paul makes sure and identified it and then says, hey, have your own wife, please. Do not go on to your father's wife. Simple. And Miss Ladies, have your own husbands. Do not do the same exactly. And there are also incidents and instances where these women would have these men would have went in onto the woman, and because of she not being a proper woman or doing what she's supposed to do, they would have left them. These are things that have been happening and still happen even today. So you find these women being by themselves widows, which we could grab after. Matter of fact, let us speak on it. Let's grab it after. Let's grab it. Alright? Let's go into the first part showing why he ensured this, because when they go into it, we have 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 1. It says, it is reported commonly that there is fornication among you. See why he says that what? Nevertheless, to avoid what? Fornication. What is that fornication mentioned? Let's go back into it. It says, and such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife. That is the fornication. Because why? When you go back into your law, verses 19, I believe it's verses 9, 19, and 19 and bear with me. Bear with me. I'll find it. I will find it. I will find it. I will find it. Boy, oh boy. Let me go into this. This helped me to get the answer regardless, right? So Leviticus 18 and 8 select. Why I went into 19 and 20. Select. It says, the nakedness of thy father's wife shall thou not uncover, it is thy father's nakedness. And that transgression is punishable, as we know, by death. You get a precept immediately. I believe Leviticus 20. I don't want to butcher it. I believe it's 20 or 21. I'm more leaning on the 20 side. So let's go back into it. All right. Slack. I'll find it. There it is. 11. It's a passage straight. A man that lied with his father's wife had uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them, which is the father's wife and the son, shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. That is the penalty for such transgressions. Alright? Let's go back into what we was dealing with. Let's deal with it right here, because we see the fornication taking place. Which is why Paul made sure I clarify to nevertheless avoid the fornication that was being done, that was being displayed. Alright? We can go into the other part after, but let's do that now. Right, so dealing with this, let's go into it from the top, which says I believe is right. The faucet is 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 5 verses 1 to 13. It says the incestuous person at Corinth, the Corinthians reproved for what? Connivance, and warned to purge out the bad leaven. And warned to purge out the bad leaven, so qualification of his former command as to association with sinners of the world. Alright? Continue to the point. Commonly, rather actually, Alford, absolutely Bengal, it is reported, implies that the Corinthians, though they wrote in Corinthians chapter 7 verses 1 to Paul on other points, give him no information on those things which bore against themselves. See that? These latter matters reached the apostles indirectly. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 11. So much as named, the oldest manuscript and authorities omit named. Fornication of such is a gross kind as exists, not even among the heathen, so that one of you had in concubinage his father's wife, that is his stepmother, while his father is still alive. This is why it was mentioned in, even again, I have two verses, 2 Corinthians chapter 7 verses 12, and compares, which is Leviticus 8 verses 8, which deals with the transgression and what happens when somebody does it, the penalty for that same transgression which you read before, right? She was perhaps a heathen, for which reason he does not direct his rebuke against her. 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 12 and 13. Alford have means have in marriage. Have, like to have, means have in marriage, but the connection is called fornication, as mentioned. And neither Christian nor Gentile, again, I don't know who you're calling Christian, but okay, nor Gentile law would have sanctioned such a marriage. However, current notorious privileges might wink at the combinage. It continues, puffed up with your own wisdom. This the next part, but the aim is to focus on the part where the fornication was taking place. All right. I also want to join and go into something else. So I'm going to add additional information. When I went into Corinthians chapter 5 verses 1, even more information. It says Paul addresses a serious sexual sin, among which again, fornication is sexual immoralities, which are sexual sins, right? So Paul addresses a serious sexual sin among the members of the current assembly. A man is living with his father's wife, stepmother. The assembly is not mourning or correcting the behavior which is supposed to do. Instead, they are proud or tolerant of it. Paul rebukes them sharply, saying that such conduct is shocking even by non-Israelite moral standards. Key point. The verse focuses on the church discipline, the need for the assembly to confront blatant sin within its covenant members rather than ignoring it. And so then I ask, so Corinthians chapter 5 verses 1, fornication is exactly what Corinthians chapter 7 is addressing. Yes, you are seeing the connection correctly. Let's look carefully. It says, 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verses 1 addresses fornication and sexual immoralities, which we just said. Notice that the assembly tolerated, specifically a man living with his father's wife. Paul condemns this behavior and the church's failure to discipline it, because as per the scriptures, who in the judgment of Yahweh Bashim Shai, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. Not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So, tolerating it is also entertaining it. So, to prevent that particular destruction fully on the members of that organization or group, bringing forth, trying to live of the truth, it had to be corrected. It had to be addressed. It have to be addressed. These things are not supposed to be. Let's continue. It says, right. So 1 Corinthians 7 addresses sexual conduct in the broader sense, giving guidance on marriage, celibacy, and sexual morality among Israelites in covenant fellowship. For example, 1 Corinthians 7 verses 2, but because of fornication, each man should have his own wife. You see that? To prevent fornication, they should have their own wife and not have the wife of their father. Because the fornication I was dealing with was the son having his stepmother while his father was still alive. That is the situation. So it's not referring to have your own wife and that is it, there is nothing else, stick it just so. No. And the reason why he made mention of this, and he said even close further in verse 6 is by what? Permission, not by commandments, is because the commandments, the Torah identifies that you can't have more than one wife. In other words, you can't exercise polygyny, which again, Exodus 21 and verses 10. If he take him another wife, more than one, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not be diminished. More than one. So that's why he said he come by permission and not by the commandments, because his aim is not to dismiss multiple wives. It's to dismiss the fornication taking place amongst them in Corinth. That's it. Stay on for the next part.